is alive. The press downstairs wouldn't know that. I had a little fun tonight. You got to grant me a little fun after they indicted me yesterday for being a lawyer. Never thought in my whole life I'd get indicted for being a fearsome, intrepid, creative advocate. Man, whew, they didn't tell me they changed the rules. Here, I thought I was in America. I was in Georgia. It's like East Germany. I mean, you can't, Trump doesn't have a right of free speech. I don't have a right to defend my client. I have to accept what the state tells me. If the governor says, or the attorney general says, the election is perfect. Yes, sir. My client concedes. Now, I do have these 200 affidavits saying that, somebody voted for them. And I have these people who say they saw all these ballots that look like they were pristine ballots and therefore weren't really mail-in ballots. And I have this expert who says that about 3,000-4,000 people from out of state voted. And then I got this other expert that says that a certain number of dead people voted. And then I got this tape. I don't know that you tell me that the state says that I edited. You even say it in your false documents that I edited it. Even wild and crazy. What does Trump call him? Deranged Mr. Smith says I edited it. Well, you see, if I know you're lying, it's tough. I never even saw the damn thing before it was played at the legislature. Never even touched it. Finally, I think I could call members of my family that would tell you I don't know how to edit. For the life of me, I can't edit. So I didn't edit it, number one. Number two, I looked at it. Now, somehow the governor and the attorney general and all these other people who are smarter than me saw something different in it. Oh, but considering the fact that I'm older than they are, have about 50 times the experience in law enforcement than they do, and have viewed surveillance films, bank robbery films, mafia films, intelligence films, I think I'm pretty good at it. I'm pretty good also at using my judgment and experience in looking at what I consider to be surreptitious conduct. In fact, that's used as a basis for probable cause. Well, I look at the tape and I see something different. I see the public thrown out at 10 o'clock at night. I see a law that they keep ignoring that says that you can't count votes except in public. But then I see the public thrown out. And then I see two women walk around to make sure there's no public there. We used to call that casing the joint. Big joint. And then I see somebody go over to a table with a big blanket over it, looking like a casket, lifting it up and pulling out votes. Looks like they didn't want other people to see them do it because they threw those people out. When you look at the statute, it says that that's invalid. Gee, I'm sorry. I thought the law applied equally. I forgot we're in Georgia. And somehow, even though we have a Republican governor and a Republican AG, I'm not sure I know when it comes to Trump, where they are. Could be a little Trump derangement syndrome. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe just a little bit, right?
So I argued the case. Now, even if that's not so, I mean, I don't know if they recognize the fact that it's my job as a lawyer to argue the case in the light most favorable to my client, not in the light most favorable to the state. No, lawyers used to do that in Nazi Germany. They argued the case in the light most favorable to the state. In communist Russia, the defense lawyers argued the case that the state wanted them to argue. In China, they do now. And apparently in Georgia, you got to argue what the state says because the state is the arbiter of truth. Gee, man, that isn't the America I grew up in. Wow. But sadly, and let's cut out the joking, it's the America we live in today. Because when they say we have two systems of justice, two tiers of justice, that's a contradiction, isn't it? When you got two systems of justice, you have no justice. It's gone. It's gone in America. It kind of left with Hillary Clinton when they let her go for massive felonies. I mean, there isn't a thing we've looked at, charged or alleged, with regard to Donald Trump that is anywhere near as serious as Hillary Clinton smashing up 33,000 emails. Is it? Or the 6 false statements she made? Or how about the $1.1 million she paid to develop false information on Donald Trump to stop him from being president, and then to use it to try to unseat a lawfully elected president in which President Obama, Vice President Biden, those two scoundrels, Brennan and what's that other guy's name? Culpepper? Whatever his name is. He's one of the prostitutes who signed one of the 51 prostitutes that signed without looking. I mean, not a single one of them bothered to ask to see the hard drive. They just knew it had earmarks of Russian collusion. It had earmarks. Now, I was involved in intelligence in the Reagan administration, helped to devise the first FISA court. So sorry, boys, I know a little about your business. Usually when you're citing earmarks, if you want to call it earmarks, you cite one. Like, you give me an example? Like, some of it could only have been developed in Russia? You cite something that fact shows it could only have been developed in Russia. You know why I knew you? You know why I knew you were full of and dishonorable, close to traitorous? You didn't even give an example. You didn't even bother to give an example. Just made a general statement because we are enamored by the press. I'm Brennan. They want me on Sunday television so I can lie my ass off. I do all the time. Lie my ass off for years, and everybody knows it. One scoundrel after another. All of them, Morell, Blinken, who organized it. No wonder our intelligence has been so terrible. No wonder we got the weapons of mass destruction wrong. No wonder we got people killed in Benghazi. No wonder Afghanistan turned out the way it did. These are the people who brought it to you. The liars, the 51 liars. They didn't even apologize for fixing a presidential election. And Biden goes on a debate. In the middle of the debate, he says that Trump and I are Russian agents. I'm a Russian pawn. Now, 3.5 years later, that turns out to be totally untrue, completely, unequivocally, 100% untrue, uttered by the candidate for president. I don't expect an apology. If he ever had to apologize for his lies, he's not going to live long enough to apologize. He's lived a life of lies. Remember when he plagiarized Neil Kinnock? He didn't just plagiarize; he plagiarized his life. He made believe he was Neil Kinnock. Well, what about this? Is this really an indictment? A lawyer called me today and wanted to know, this is really an indictment. It looked like an exposition on the First Amendment. It looked like statements that are completely and fully protected by the First Amendment. And he said, gee, I would have thought that you and Eastman and Jenna and some of the other lawyers, gosh, you'd have the First Amendment protection. You'd have the Sixth Amendment protection too. And he cited me some cases where lawyers Supreme Court has said lawyers are allowed a certain degree of exaggeration. Lawyers are allowed a certain degree of latitude when they're defending their clients. And then even more cases in election cases where you can't develop the facts quickly, and you have to do it based on extrapolation. So you don't get the records until later. So you have to get experts who make extrapolations. Many of them turn out to be right. Many turn out to be wrong, but it's the only way you can get the case going. So there's nothing that I said or Trump said that we didn't have a basis for. The state had its own truth. Now, excuse me if I had a little trouble trusting Barr, since he sat on the hard drive for a year and let his president be impeached for nothing. Sat on exculpatory evidence. People in his department get fired for that. And that phony goes on television now, left-wing television, communist television, expounding about, I looked at the case, and it looks like a very tough case to me. That's based on all the cases he tried. Must have been a hell of a trial. You can't even understand him talking. Remember, they don't have the guts to ask him, when did you find out about the hard drive? Phony. When did you find out it was validated? When they put out that statement that it was Russian earmarks of Russian whatever, you knew it was validated at that point. You knew they were lying. You knew they were conducting a fraudulent election, didn't you? Now you want me to believe that you actually investigated the election fraud? I know you didn't, Barr. I know you told U.S. attorneys not to. So go lie to somebody else. You do a good job lying to the press, and they sit there like, oh, we won't ask them about the hard drive. That might be too tough a question for them. Yeah, let's let them get away with covering up probably the most significant fact or set of facts that have ever emerged in an American presidential election. Let's let them be part of probably the biggest cover-up in an American presidential election. That's okay. After all, it was to get Trump. And what exactly is wrong with Trump? Compared to Biden, Trump is an angel. Oh, yes. You'll see. So, district attorney looks like she should have come to my classes on how to be a prosecutor. I don't know if she would have passed or failed. Probably, you know what she'd have failed? She'd have failed procedure, indictment procedure. Well, she virtually admitted she didn't know anything about it. So she'd gotten an F in indictment procedure. She doesn't know how indictments get filed. You know how they get filed? Like the one you filed at 12:57 yesterday. You know when I figured it out? The moment I looked at it. You know why? Because I'm a competent prosecutor. I actually work, read, think, analyze, and try to make fair decisions, completely contrary to you. You know why I know it was filed? Well, really, it's tough. Really tough to figure out. It's got a timestamp on it. Oh, gee, just in case. It's already got a case number. So this case against Trump with 39 counts is already a case at 12:57. It's got a case number. I know it's little print. Luckily, I just got new glasses over the weekend. See this here? See? You're screwed, Fanny. Giuliani got new glasses. Ha! And he's like 5 times the lawyer you were. How can you? No, well, you can't multiply by 0. Here it says case number. You make it really small. Is this also part of Fulton County and East Berlin law is the same? You make little stuff hard to see. So it says case number 235C, 188 954. No, 945, sorry. Now, be interested in what happened to that case. This guy going to get prosecuted for it? This guy, well, let's see what his name is. Oh, it even has the file date. Yeah, they mark down the date too. That means Fanny, don't Fanny, don't start start playing with your games, huh? With the video games. Come on, Fanny, pay attention here. It has a file date here, Fanny. See the file date? That means it was filed on that date. That's really tough to figure out when it says file date, right? What file date means, see, this is like the way Kamala Harris would get this. Kamala Harris would say, this is a file date because it says file date. Oh, there's even a case type. Wow. General complex. That tells you a lot. It's got a court. This fictitious thing, whatever this was, has a court. It's going to go to a court. This thing at 12 o'clock. EJ1 court. Well, we don't know where that is, but we'll go look for it, right? When we go down there to plead, we'll go find out about this one too. What's happening to this case? And it has a judicial officer. Does that mean a judge? Carnasale Rachel L. I don't know. And it says the case even has a status. The case that wasn't open. It says open. The status is open. Oh, it has a party. Donald John Trump. Nobody else. I don't see Rudolph William Louis Giuliani there. I feel left out. And then it has all the same counts as in the original indictment. This means, Fanny, you filed this before you got the grand jury to vote on it, didn't you?
Mayor, they leaked it by accident on the website and then they deleted it.
Well, leaking it is a crime. So I assume you're going to, before you go forward with this case that you want to try in 6 months, you're going to find the leaker and prosecute to show us that this is not, that you were not East Berlin. I bet you were investigating it today, weren't you? Very assiduously.
I bet you they send the same team who couldn't figure out the cocaine in the White House for Georgia to figure that out, Mayor. What do you think? They're going to say, we can't find the leaker. Yeah, I bet you that's what they're going to do.
I mean, they just lied about it when it came out. They said this was nothing. It was a fictitious thing. It was not. It's the file of an indictment. The excuse now was they filed it for practice. I'd never heard of filing an indictment for practice. What kind of a DA's office is it? You file indictments for practice. I think the case should just be dismissed on the basis that you don't get to file for practice. If you want to practice, go back to law school, okay? Where I actually think you should ask for your money back, but that's okay. So the indictment ends up having just the exact number of counts that thing had. I do win the contest for being named in the most counts, other than Donald John Trump. Here I am referred to as I usually am referred to as Rudy Giuliani. She went ahead and referred to me as Rudolph William Louis Giuliani. My mother would have appreciated that, Fanny.
Can I ask about the two middle names?
No, you can't. It's a personal matter.
Okay.
Stop being so intrusive, Ted.
Ted, what the hell?
Ted, I mean, don't you have any sense of? I have my boys here with me, all of them. I got Mike, I got Rob, and we got Ted. So Ted's going to get a hard time. Yes, you can know. William was my uncle, who was a New York City policeman, and my godfather, of course. That usually the middle name is for your godfather. And Louis was my maternal grandfather, and Rudolph was my paternal grandfather. So
learn something new every day. I knew
name.
about the W. The L is what I'm learning about.
I mean, you don't use it very much anymore. I've never done like Rudolph WL Giuliani.
No, I know. We've done every once in a while. I'll throw out the Rudolph W. Giuliani, right? We got, but
my mother used to call me Rudolph.
I love that.
Everybody called me Rudy. except a few nuns every once in a while. But the nuns usually call me that right before they're going to hit me.
Yeah, Rudolph.
Rudolph, I knew I was getting whacked.
Yep.
Not my mother. My mother called me that all the time, even when she wasn't hitting
Did
me.
your mom tell you early on you got to decide if you want to be Rudolph or Rudy?
No. She said, I named you Rudolph. I'm going to call you Rudolph.
And then when people would call you Rudy, what would she say? Was she okay with
Call
that?
him Rudolph.
She would tell them,
My mother loved her father-in-law, her daughter. She had like a hero worship for him. So she named him for it. And therefore she wanted me to be instilled with a lot of the values my grandfather had.
Yeah.
And John Eastman is a close second at 9. I mean, but look at Mark Meadows, only 2. Come on, Mark. Come on. What the hell are you doing? I mean, there was a whole RICO thing going on we didn't even know about. Now, I got to tell you, it can be interesting when we all get together. I don't know most of these people.
we're meeting them for the first time.
I know Mark. I know Mark.
Blind group.
I know John.
Family reunion.
Yeah.
John, I work very closely with John. John is a brilliant lawyer who is being
It is wrong what they're doing to that man. Like
wrong.
everyone, like
It's
everyone
a
on there.
sin what they're doing.
A sin. That's
The
right.
man is a law professor all his life, a constitutional scholar. He held this view in good faith. This is something he's written about for years. Other people have agreed with him on this. Other people have disagreed with him on this. And it is a viable theory. It is not accepted law, but there's not accepted law on the other side either. And you're entitled to argue for changes in the law. How did they change Roe against Wade other than arguing for changes in the law? How did they change Brown? How did Brown versus the Board of Education get decided? By changing the law. It's not illegal for me to argue for a change in the law. It's not illegal for me to argue that the law is wrong, particularly when I know it's going to get tested in a court. That's what I was trained to do as a lawyer. That's what I took an oath to do for my client. To interpret the law and the facts. Let me say it once again, because this, Fanny, is your worst sin. You destroy the legal profession. You install the prosecutor as the dictator. I am the dictator. The truth is, if you can tell me the truth, we don't need a trial, Fanny. It's just you. The truth is, there was no election fraud. Well, I don't know. I was talking on a phone to an ATF agent who told me all about ballots that were being burned. What am I supposed to make believe I didn't hear that? Because you say there was no fraud. That's the truth. And if you don't subscribe to it, you will go to jail for 100 years under RICO.
Sounds very communist.
Yeah.
Yes.
No. I actually, I'm not sure they're communists or they're ignorant and political opportunists. This isn't an indictment. This is an attempt to interfere with the election. It's a device to interfere with the election. It's not even close to an indictment, not even written like an indictment. And then they have all these other poor people who, I mean, each one of the lawyers just acted like a lawyer. Some of the others, I don't know exactly what they did. I know Mike Roman worked with me, honorable, honest, straightforward, decent guy doing what he thought was right. Some of the others I never met, as I told you. This has to be changed, not just for my good. Of course, I don't want to go to jail, but this should be changed for the good of America. This can't be done. People have to have the scope to disagree with each other vociferously if we expect to be a country that's going to stay together. We have to be able to disagree. And you don't get to dictate the truth. I'm sorry. There are interpretations to laws. That's what we were all taught in law school. There are very few laws that don't have interpretations. We have a right to argue them in court. All of these were intended for argument in court. That's where I was. I was in a court or I was in a legislature. I wasn't out on the street. And even if I was, I'd then be protected by the First Amendment. But I happen to be protected by both, neither of which you seem to give a damn about. Trump indicted on racketeering. Racketeering. What the hell do you know about racketeering? I know about racketeering because they wanted to kill me. It's really outrageous you indict me for racketeering when I probably have done more against organized crime than any prosecutor in history. I probably did more in 1 year than you've done in your whole career. Don't think I have to mention all the cases I tried, huh?
Mayor, what people don't understand is that the FBI.
They've indicted me for racketeering. I began using the racketeering statute when nobody else had the guts to use it. And by the way, Fanny, you're going to try this case? I tried the case myself.
That's literally what I was going to say. The mayor, the FBI was sitting on their hands during the mafia commission. And they didn't know what to do.
Look at that. Look at that piece of junk. Look at that. How disgraceful. Former president of the United States, possibly future president of the United States. This case, even these allegations have nothing to do with the mafia. Nothing to do with racketeering. What the hell is wrong with you? What kind of lawyer are you? What kind of person are you? You're an ambitious, partially talented lawyer who doesn't know how to file an indictment.
Trump's not even Italian. He can't be a mafia. He can't be in the mafia. You know that. You know that, Mayor.
Yeah,
right?
but he's the real Teflon Don if there ever was one.
In theory,
he's the real Teflon Don.
He's Teflon Don, but he's not. He can't be the mafia.
Him and the mayor, but the mayor's name isn't Don.
I can see the commission, whose meetings I used to listen to. Hey, Vito, we gonna let this guy, what's his name? Trumpoli. Donaldo. Hey.
Donaldo Trumpoli. Donaldo Trumpoli.
Tony, his name is not Donaldo. What are you getting us to not? His name is Donald Trump. He's German. Oh,
well,
we don't. We were against the Germans.
Well,
remember the mafia fought against the Germans.
That's right.
That's right. The Italians.
They took Lucky Luciano out of jail, and he protected the ports, and then for his service they deported him back to Italy.
But there are always these rumors that he would make frequent trips back to the United States.
Sure, he did
with a certain amount of approval, and it's also a rumor that he got a medal, secret medal.
I believe it.
Wow. And
well, you know what he did? He actually did something very, very strategic. By going back to Sicily, he organized a mafia to basically engage in guerrilla war with the Nazis, because they were really as skilled and maybe more skilled as killers than and the German army probably thought of Italy as, so they didn't use much of the SS down there. They used their regular army, which was no match for the mafia.
Right.
And whether Italy was, Sicily wasn't.
No. Well, Benito Mussolini.
Sicily, the Germans had 3 ways to kill you. The Sicilians had 50.
Mussolini declared war on the mafia during World War II. He said he was going to just get rid of them, eradicate them from Italy, and that's why.
Well, yeah, well, they didn't.
Right. It didn't happen, obviously.
They didn't want any competition.
Exactly.
Mussolini was competition for them.
Right.
They didn't want any competition.
One thing Mayor, in your thousands of hours of tapes of these organized criminal
racketeering case for election interference. Imagine that. Imagine what we've become. Oh my God!
And we sit here smiling, but it really is
That's
I know it's a dark day. Yesterday was a dark day in our.
We shouldn't smile, except it's the way to get through tough times. Tommy Von Essen, who was my fire commissioner on September 11, taught me that, and nobody went through much worse than him, having lost all his best friends in one day. And then he kept making jokes.
Oh my God!
And then every once in a while, you could see him crying. And Tommy would not like me saying that last part.
Oh.
But in any event, he told me you got to have humor, and all the firefighters have it. That's how we put up with it. Now, you want another joke?
Yeah.
She ain't going to have this case very long, so she better enjoy it while she has it. I mean, maybe she should have another midnight press conference, because this one's going out. There's a statute that I didn't mention before she filed, but I've had it here for 2 weeks. It's called 28 U.S.C. 1442. It basically pretty much assures that you can move this case to federal court. And Mark Meadows has already begun the process.
28.
And
USC 1442.
1442, it says that you can move any case relating to any act under color of federal office or on account of any right, title, or authority claimed under federal office. Federal office being president. The president would have the right to removal because he was acting under the constitutional duty to make sure that the laws are faithfully executed, the election laws. And second, we would be able to do it, meaning Mark and myself and the others, because we were his agents. We were acting on his behalf. And it specifically makes a provision for that. And then it does one other thing, which is enormously important. If your petition is turned down, it allows you to appeal. So generally in a criminal case, you do not get what is known as interlocutory appeals, because that delays cases quite a bit. But here you have an interlocutory appeal within the federal system. I would say that from what I can see with the 7 or 8 cases I got to read today, this is a damn good case. I'll read you an outline from basically a law review article that summarizes this. The Supreme Court has mandated a generous interpretation of the federal officer removal statute in Willingham versus Morgan. The Supreme Court explained that, quote, the federal officer removal statute is not narrow or limited, but is instead broad enough to cover all cases where federal officers can raise a colorable federal defense arising out of their duty to enforce federal law. The colorable federal defense is his duty to faithfully execute, which is built right into the Constitution of the United States. One of the primary purposes of the removal statute was to have such defenses litigated in the federal courts. Sorry, Fanny. It's only going to be one night of fame. Or possibly this may be it. And this may be the footnote that will be your legal career. I assure you, mine will not be a footnote in spite of you.
That's right, Mayor. And on that note, maybe we'll hear from our first sponsor of the night, Tunnel
to Towers, the wonderful, incomparable Tunnel to Towers.
Mm-hmm.
The Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. See him? There he is. That's it. That's the face of America. Aren't you embarrassed? Heartless Joe. Now, you used to think that Joe, well, first we used to think that Joe was the dumbest man in Congress, but he was a nice man and an honest man. Then we found out that he is the dumbest man in Congress and a crooked man. Then we found out he's a lifetime criminal. And now we find out he's he's a bad man, actually, a very bad man, an evil man, a heartless man. That's him biking around, and he was at the beach. And this is the guy whose wife, who must be kind of like the quintessential stepmother, put out only 6 stockings for the 7 grandchildren, letting the 7th know. What damage does that do to a 3 or 4-year-old? And Hunter hasn't even seen his child yet. Joe hasn't seen his grandchild yet. And Jill has such love in her heart that she hasn't seen her granddaughter yet, as far as I know. And all they've done is besmirch her reputation and her mother's. But then, just in case that was an accident, I would say we had the most insensitive thing happen with an American president yesterday. Do we have the picture of him on the bike?
Yes, and I have.
Could we play the music that goes with
I
that?
have his music, if I only had a brain.
Yeah, let's hear it.
While away the hours, conferring with the flowers, consulting with the rain. In my head, I'd be scratching while my thoughts were busy hatching if I only had a brain. I'd unravel every riddle for any individual in trouble or in pain.
With the thoughts you'd be thinking you could be another Lincoln.
This is what they play in the Kremlin. When Putin gets depressed, this is what he played. When he was wondering, did I read Biden right before he invaded Ukraine? Is he really as big a coward and as big a buffoon as he appears? He played this. One of his guys played it for him. If I only had a brain. He's been missing that for quite some time, but he had a little piece of a brain. When I knew him, he had a little piece of a brain. He was profoundly stupid, but he wasn't demented. Now he's truly demented. I don't know how the hell he makes it. So here's the one that really is something, though, and that is being asked about Hawaii. The president of the United States, Hawaii has been Maui has been getting destroyed. Over 100 people dead, thousands of people injured, hundreds of millions in damage, further damage on its way. He hasn't even taken time off to hold a press conference about it.
He also sent more aid to Ukraine while the fires were raging in Maui, Mayor. So that speaks
Well, he never got
volumes
any
to him.
money from Maui.
No, of course not. Hunter never did business with them.
I mean, if they had paid him off, they got plenty.
Of course.
But how about this? You got the clip, Ted. You got the clip of the most insensitive, vicious, heartless president in American history to go along with the most crooked.
And our viewers, you'll want to watch the subtitles. It is hard to hear. And we'll play it a couple times
if
for you.
watching this, you vote for him, there's something wrong with you.
President, any comments on the rising death toll in Maui?
Will you come talk about the Hawaii response, Mr. President?
Notice his dismissal with the arm.
Yeah, watch
Like,
the arm.
Me,
President, any comments on the rising death toll in Maui?
Will you come talk about the Hawaii response, Mr. President?
Comment. What do you make of that? Now, is this somebody?
Okay.
Yeah.
Bad guy, evil guy. I'll tell you why I don't just attribute it to his dementia. You know, for a very, very long time, I have felt a certain degree of empathy, sympathy for Hunter. And I felt sympathy for Hunter thinking as a father. I was thinking, whenever, this is true, whenever I investigated cases, I always put myself into the mind of the criminal to try to figure out what they did, why they did it, what else they might have done. And I got Joe figured out pretty fast because he's stupid. It's easy to get into his mind. There isn't much of a mind to get into. But I started thinking, this guy Hunter, this kid, when he was a kid, had to have had an addictive personality. He was obviously in a situation where he was the lesser child, which is not an uncommon situation, right? I mean, it's hardly unique to the Biden family. A kid who has an addictive personality, and he went through his first 1 or 2 rehabs very young. The last thing in the world you do is put him into the business that his father put him into. And I don't know that you fully appreciate the business he was in because the press keeps so much of this from you. Over the next, what would be 30, 40 years, he spent his time with some of the most dangerous criminals in the world. Members of organized crime. Zlochevsky is suspected of killing his partner. Who the hell knows how many Mr. Z killed? He's now lying. They think he's at the bottom of the Yangtze River. A lot of his people have ended up dead, Joe's partners. Who the hell do you think Yelena Buturina? You see how rich she is? You ever take a look at her? She didn't make it on her looks. Bad woman. Really bad. 3.5 mil from her. She helped to unseat her husband. Now, you take a kid like that with that kind of problem and you put him in business with some of the worst criminals in the world. He's not going to turn out to just continue to be a drug addict. He's going to become what he became, a completely degenerate, almost constant drug addict. There's no way he hasn't been doing it in the White House. No way in the world. Impossible. I can look at him sometimes coming out there, for one of those things. I used to be head of the narcotics division in the U.S. Attorney's office, right on the line, going down there in the precincts. I see it in the White House. Although we don't know where the cocaine came from. We can't figure that out.
Remember that? And they quickly came out, instead of saying we're going to get to the bottom of this, they came out and said, we don't think we're going to ever get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, the first day.
The first day. That's the thing. It was the first day.
It was someone close to the Biden family, but not in the Biden.
First thing they did before they knew anything was to say they're not going to solve it. And I never heard of a crime where you announce on the first day, I don't think we'll be able to solve this.
Cold
First
case.
day, yeah. And then they moved. The place that was found 3 times. They moved. How do you move the place that was? It was only found one place. Or maybe they found it. Maybe there's 3. They found it 3 times. First, they said it was found in the library. Then they said it was found outside of the main hall entranceway waiting room. Then they said it was found outside the Situation Room.
Probably the first
Look,
time in the history of the White House.
It was either. This is my thoughts. It was either Joe Biden, Mayor. It was either Joe, or sorry, not Joe. He wouldn't. It was either Hunter Biden, or it was a big donor, and now Joe Biden is
Hunter
holding
got a
this
lot of-
over the donor's head and saying, "Hey, if you don't donate all your money to my campaign, we're releasing the name."
Conspiracy theories.
I would be very, very, I'd be very surprised if some donor had the cojones to put cocaine in the White House.
That's a good
But
point.
why is everybody discounting Kamala? She's pretty wild. Like,
I don't.
The way
Look,
she laughs, she could be doing some coke, man.
I don't think that's fair.
All right.
No, I'm
sorry.
serious. I think
sorry.
you should take that back.
I
don't
take
think
it
that's
back.
fair.
I apologize.
We have no.
Dumb.
Yeah, we have no reason to believe she's an addict. We do have a reason to believe there's something wrong with her brain too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but Joe, I haven't spent time on her. I have spent time on Joe, and I've actually talked to doctors about him. Joe has dementia. Now, she has another disease, and I actually asked someone to look at it for me, and they haven't gotten back to me. She talks in non sequiturs, like, the best one that I remember is Ukraine is a small, with the children. Ukraine is, they weren't children, they were about 15. All of them working at a level about 50 above this, right? Yeah. Ukraine is a small country. Russia is next to Ukraine, and Russia is a big country. But Ukraine is a small one. Oh, that's good. That's good. So Joe is enjoying himself on the beach. No empathy for the people who are dying in, no empathy for people that are dying in Hawaii. No attempt to go there and help them. And as far as I know, he hasn't visited his granddaughter, whose life he may have irreparably harmed with the denials of her and his son's attempt to pay almost nothing for her. How Hunter got, I mean, Hunter, the judicial and prosecutorial misconduct and corruption with regard to Hunter Biden would fill a book. How the judge reduced his money from 20 to 5,000 when he came there in a private plane is completely baffling. Completely baffling to me. And the girl's going to get some money from these ridiculous paintings of his. First of all, it's dirty money. That's completely dirty money.
Yeah.
The mere fact that they won't tell us now lets us know that it's dirty money. We now know the Bidens have shown us that when they're hiding something, it's criminal. For 5 or 6 years, Joe said, I never talked to any of his, I didn't know any of his foreign business. I never talked about his foreign business. I didn't know about his foreign business. And now there's 50 pieces of evidence proving that he knew about the foreign business. Now it becomes, I wasn't in business with him. Oh, that's not true either. We're going to show you that in a little while. I mean, they don't know how to tell the truth. And this guy, Merrick Garland, God almighty, he was a judge. How do they find such a crooked guy? Is this because he wants his son-in-law to make money with his business of training kids how to change gender? That's his business. The son-in-law is making millions with contracts with public schools, telling kids, you know, do you really think you are male? Or how would you like a few hormones? Or no need to tell your parents we're going to chop you up. And of course, Catholics are, he doesn't like Catholics at all. Doesn't like Catholics. If we like the Latin Mass, we're terrorists. I think you think I should express my position on the Latin Mass?
Yes.
Mayor, you would be called an extremist if you do that.
Hold on.
I'm Mayor. When my dad went to church growing up, the Mass was only in Latin.
I know they're going to put me in jail, but
Oh man.
I know somehow they're going to put me in jail for some political
Up
offense
until-
that they make up. Like, but I would like to go to jail for being an extremist Catholic. I might get into heaven.
Was Catholic Mass in Latin everywhere back in like the 50s and 60s? My dad says growing up it was all in Latin, or was it mostly in Latin?
It was all in Latin.
All Catholic churches.
That's one of the reasons it's the Catholic Church.
I know, but why now? But
No,
I
you
go
don't know.
Well, now I go
What
to
does
church.
Catholic mean?
What does the word Catholic mean?
Yeah.
Let's break this. So Catholicism.
Universal.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Universal.
I'm a lifelong I'm gonna admit something. I'm a
Universal.
lifelong Catholic and
And
didn't know that.
here was one of the arguments for it.
This is amazing. I didn't know.
On Sunday morning, I could go to Mass in the U.S. I can go to Mass in China. I couldn't actually. I get killed. I could go to Mass in Italy. I could go to Mass in Philippines. I could not go to Mass in East Germany or get killed. I could not go to Mass in Poland until Ronald Reagan came along. But it would be said in Latin. Everywhere, every place, same Mass, same words, same reflection, same gospel, and the beautiful, beautiful language. And the argument against it was, and it goes back to Luther and the Reformation, that it kept people once removed, that it should be in the vernacular so that you understood it. interesting fact is that when Henry VIII broke with Rome, he kept the Mass in Latin. It was only with Elizabeth I that they switched to a English Mass. And Henry died thinking he was a Catholic, but he had the same power as the Pope. Interesting thing we could discuss some other time. But in any event, they don't like us Catholics who are traditional Catholic. I am not a traditional Catholic by any means, but I do absolutely love the Latin Mass. I am also an opera lover and a classical music lover. And I don't know if you know this, but opera emerges from the Mass. The Mass was the first drama put to music, the drama of the Mass. And there are certain pieces of the Mass that are always put to music. And it's a great way to compare composers. You can compare the Gloria. So Mozart has a Gloria, many. But Beethoven has a Gloria. Verdi has a no. Verdi doesn't have a Gloria because he has a Requiem Mass. Just about every composer has written. Brahms has written a Gloria. Bach written one of the great Glorias. So you can listen to the same, or the Credo in unum Deum Patrum omnipotentem.
Wow.
So, okay, come and get me.
You are
I'm a Catholic. I'm a Catholic.
And you're talking about the Latin Mass.
I'm a Catholic, and I like the Latin
This
Mass.
is a
I like
lot
the
of-
Latin
You're a
Mass.
homegrown extremist, Mayor, and you should stop while you're ahead.
Somebody call the FBI.
Yeah, someone called. They're already listening.
They're already around the corner. Come on, we know they're close by.
And Ray lied about it. He said it was only one office. There were no investigations. There were a bunch of investigations. It was 3 offices. Do they tell the truth about anything? We do. We tell the truth about everything. Here's what annoys me, and it's one of the things that Ted made to the people downstairs. I'm going to tell you why I didn't go downstairs, too. You know, I love dealing with the press. I didn't go downstairs because I want to talk to you directly, because they will misinterpret everything I say. For example, today in the Wall Street Journal, just out of nowhere, these 2 nice reporters, I'm sure they're very nice, basically said that I admitted lying about one of the cases in Atlanta. Didn't admit lying. I entered into a stipulation, not contesting a part of the case, so we could move on to another part of the case in which it specifically says that it's not an admission of lying, that it's just a tactical device for this case, done all the time in litigation. So you don't have to go over needless things. And particularly since this was going to be a jury trial in District of Columbia, there was no point in wasting money. I'm going to lose on this. I'm going to win on the law. But I didn't admit that I was lying, but they just write it. They just write it. So why do I want to go talk to them? I'll give my version, and then they'll say, Giuliani very defensively said, or Giuliani in a very guilty tone.
Yeah.
Or
That's what they do.
Giuliani lied about election interference. Well, who decided I lied about election interference?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since
Are they
when do they know?
God?
Yeah.
They put a label.
And when they say, and what was the most, what officials say was the most secure election of all time.
Right.
The heck? What officials?
Well, a lot of
And
officials say it wasn't.
Yeah.
Right.
I have lots of people that say it wasn't. How about them? They
I
don't
got
have a right of
the
free speech.
greatest mayor in American history telling us it clearly wasn't.
So, but Mayor, if I went on TV in front of a bunch of people and said the 2020 election was a fraud, would I also get indicted? I mean, it sounds like yes, because they're going
No,
after freedom
I-
of speech, or is it because I'm not trying to represent Donald Trump? Is that the difference here?
Yeah.
Right.
You wouldn't get it done. You'd probably get fired.
You'd be shamed.
Yeah,
You'd
right.
be
You'd
shamed.
get fired.
I would
You'd
get fired from my
you'd
job.
get shamed.
Yeah,
Probably off
You'd
social
probably
media.
get protests.
I'm already banned on Twitter. So.
Yeah.
You'd be banned.
Yeah.
Pretty soon you'd be a white nationalist, right? Those go hand
You'd
in
be
hand.
you'd be a racist.
Racist, white
You'd be a whole
misogynist.
bunch of you'd be you'd,
First
Yeah.
of all, first of all, Italians aren't allowed in the Klan, so I would never be a white nationalist. Thank
they
you
used to
very
kill
much.
us.
That's right. They want to kill us. They don't
Yeah,
let us in the Klan.
Klan wanted to kill us. That's,
But you'd be surprised how they can twist things in their minds, right? I was the biggest white
That's true.
nationalist.
you know,
when I
I
worked for the Daily
think
Caller.
about it.
They would call me that to my face.
so if I was around then as an Italian,
You'd be lynched, Mayor.
if I was around then, I'd still have trouble with the Democrat Party because they were the Klan.
Correct.
Oh yeah,
That's 100%.
you Italians
How do these guys
or
maintain that?
Catholics too.
How do they maintain
That's
that name, Democrat Party, when it was the biggest purveyor of slavery and segregation? Because they're phonies.
Oh no.
Give me now. I need it now, immediately.
need it.
I need it.
Young week.
You know what I need?
Yes. Balance of nature.
Let me have my balance of nature. Da-da-da-da. Here we go. I tell you what, we haven't had this in a while. I had some before. Give me the glass over there.
Okay.
All right. We'll put some water in it. Put some water in it.
Now the mayor is enjoying some balance of nature. 31 fresh
Tell them all about it
fruits
while I
and
do this.
vegetables.
Hand me over
into
the red one too. We need the red
one
one.
pill.
Here.
Get your balance
Watch.
of nature today. Go to balanceofnature.com and use the promo code.
Watch.
Rudy.
The red ones now. The red ones. This was my veggies for the day. This does not mean you don't eat veggies. Eat as many veggies as you want, but make sure you supplement it with at least 2 and 2. I take 4 and 4. I may increase it. I'm thinking about it.
Of course, you can get 35% off by using that promo
I
code.
thought it said
Rudy,
25% when I
And
said.
$25 off on
Oh, on the babies.
on the babies.
and discover why hundreds of thousands, really, we might, eventually. We'll
These are
say
good for
millions
travel. They're also cute.
Have chosen balance of nature.
They make a nice little decoration on your shelf. Like I put them on. When we were in New Hampshire, I used them as a decoration, and I tried different combinations. Like the red next to the green, like that.
It's good for
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah.
Oh, between this and our
Our mixer here.
mixer,
You
wow.
can make Christmas tree ornaments.
We'll put the Christmas tree right next to the
That's
mixer,
right. It looked very
and
nice.
this.
Lots of colors.
I'm gonna hang these on the tree.
Put a hook on 'em.
Does that look great on the tree?
Oh, red and green.
And
Good colors.
Christmas is not far away, so balance of nature would be a very good gift for one of your loved
Gosh,
ones.
There you go.
I feel like Christmas is always right around the
It's
corner.
right around the corner.
Yeah.
They're already selling
I'll tell you
Halloween.
what, I'm gonna. I didn't. When we traveled, I took
Yeah.
my travel with me, but I used it from the main one. I'm gonna start using this so that we get this empty, and I'm gonna see. I know someone I think can make a. I think Gabriella can
calls?
make a ornament out of this.
Oh, easy. Put a wire hook on it.
Well, yeah, you put a little hole in here and a little wire hook, and it's kind of light. I wonder if Dr. Howard will approve. We'll have to get approval for it, obviously. Anyway, it's not we don't have the patent or the whatever rights,
Oh, yeah.
but at least it's an idea, right? I think this would not make a good ornament.
No, and now the mayor is, of course, drinking the
Yeah,
fiber.
I usually have this.
spice.
I usually have this in the morning, and I did, but I'm going to take a little supplement tonight just to show you how you use it.
Very good for your digestive system.
Oh,
I need that.
Clear right out.
all right, here.
Fiber is the key for digesting.
Yeah.
This, see? I keep taking this. You Democratic creeps, you're not getting me, babes. Go ahead, keep indicting me.
Balance of nature is great for people of all partisan persuasions.
That's right. I get a spoon.
This is not recommended,
Oh boy.
but I'm a jerk.
The key to living longer is mixing your balance of nature with a scissor. Look at this guy. Picture of health.
Oh, wow. Spice in there, Rob.
Give it a shot.
I'm telling you, this is very, very good.
Hold up that
Some-
glass.
Some people are a little turned off. They don't like the way it looks. And I didn't until I drank it the first time. Now I can't pass it up.
And talk about it, Mayor. How does it make you feel? You take this balance of nature, you have a nice cold glass.
First of all, it gives me a great deal more energy than I used to have. I've been taking quite some time. This other one's pretty new. Among other things, I think I will put this in the most tasteful way possible.
Nutmeg.
Makes you very irregular, not
Regular,
irregular,
regular.
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 That's right.
Regula. Yes, here goes. So I was going to tell you why I didn't go down and have a press conference with the press, because they're not entitled to it, because they're too dishonest. And they constantly misquote me. They constantly put things in like I lied about this and I lied about that. Or they will say about me and Trump that I repeated the lies about the campaign. I didn't about the election. I didn't lie. I told the truth, or what I believe to be the truth, based on the records that I had at the time and based on the records that I have today. And nobody asked to see the records. And I think it is absolutely outrageous that they pronounce what the truth is. And I think after all the mistakes they've made, one would think they would stop. Where's the humility? Let's just go through a teeny scorecard, right? How did this all start? Ted, how did this all start? Russian collusion.
Russian collusion, Mayor. They lied about.
Okay. Russian collusion was a paid for lie. Paid for by Hillary Clinton, $1.1 million. It was what we would call a frame up. They were trying to convict Trump in order to prevent him from being president or to take out a lawfully elected president. They were trying to convict him of something he didn't do by making it up. And they paid a large amount of money for it. And they inveigled a lot of people in doing it. And it was very well known to all of the key liars in the Democratic Party, including Prince Obama and Dodo. And they just went ahead with it for 4 or 5 years. It turned out to be in stages. 3 reports found it to be untrue. Another report found it to be untrue. And finally, it was definitively declared untrue. Now everybody admits it's untrue. So what's the conclusion of that? The people who are behind bringing all these cases against Trump right now lied about that. Donald Trump and I told the truth about that consistently with great pressure against us and tremendous attacks on us. Second, I brought out, as the first one to bring out, in early 2019, that Joe Biden was involved in a massive bribery scheme in Ukraine. I was attacked, castigated, told it was debunked, told I was doing it because of election interference, told I was doing it in order to elect Trump, even though Biden had even announced yet. I tried to explain that I came across it in my investigating in order to defend my client against impeachment, which they were unfairly attempting. And it was given to me, gratuitously given to me, because nobody else had the guts to bring it out. And one thing I don't lack is that, guts. So I brought it out and I gave it to Hannity and I gave it to John Solomon and I put it in my podcast. And I got, first of all, I got secretly surveilled by the FBI. They went and took my iCloud account the day I began representing Donald Trump and didn't stop until the day after, which meant they were spying on him for 3 years or 2 years. I got attacked. I had to leave my law firm. I lost, lost a lot of money. Then they went ahead and suspended me ridiculously from the practice of law because I'm a danger of creating a riot, even though a judge has found that I didn't create that riot. I was dismissed from the case. But nobody, these dishonest reporters that want to interview me never report that. There was never a big headline, Giuliani vindicated. Giuliani vindicated about Biden bribery. They don't even point out now that all this comes out, that all of this started, all this stuff they have now started with me. You wouldn't have it if I didn't bring it out. So that's 2. I was telling the truth about the Biden bribery. They were lying about it. Trump was telling the truth about the Biden bribery. They were lying about it. Now we go to 3, the hard drive. There wasn't only called a liar, it's called an agent of Russia, a Russian pawn, to quote the liar Joe Biden. And that wasn't corrected for 16 months. And when it was corrected, there was no apology. So I was telling the truth about that. And they weren't just lying about that. They carried out probably the biggest cover-up in American political history. So then why is there, why do we start this one on the 50-yard line? I mean, I start off being a truth teller 3 times, and they start off lying 3 times. I think I would get a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, huh? I got a history of telling the truth, guys. They got a history of lying. I told the truth about Russian collusion. I told the truth about Ukrainian bribery against all odds, against threats to ruin my career. I said, F yourself. And I told the truth about the hard drive, and boy, that got even worse. And for 16 months, I was attacked as a Russian agent, a Russian agent. I did more for my country than any of these bums. I put my record, even in dealing with intelligence and the FISA court, up against them anytime. And I don't get the benefit of the doubt from these creeps downstairs? And I'm supposed to go down there and answer their questions? If they reported my questions neutrally, I'd go down there in a second. I did when I was mayor, sparred with them all the time. Some of those people I sparred with are my best friends now. But these people aren't like that. Donald Trump once said that one of the greatest dangers to our democracy, and they made fun of him. Man, does he turn out to be right about almost everything, doesn't he? Yep. And so far, I've been right about everything. And I'm going to turn out to be right about this. Those of you who have a problem with this, I now suggest turning the television off because you might choke to death. The election was stolen. Okay? Live with it. And let's make sure it doesn't happen again. Okay? Donald Trump believes that. I believe that.
I believe it.
And if I took a polygraph test, I'd pass in a second. I believe it was stolen. I believe I can prove it. Look, I'm not God by any means. I am not infallible. I could be wrong. I could have interpreted the evidence wrong. I haven't been given a chance to present it any place but a few places. And where I have, it's been accepted. The courts wouldn't hear the evidence. You say the courts threw the cases out. They wouldn't hear the witnesses. They didn't have the courage to hear the witnesses. And I know why they didn't hear the witnesses. Because if they heard the witnesses, they would have had a harder time disagreeing with American citizens. So they stick it on me. They stick it on Trump. They don't stick it on the 1,000 people who want to testify. That is what these two dopes walked themselves into in these two cases that they brought. Except this one will not be conducted by Fannie. This will be conducted by a federal court because it's going to get removed under 18 U.S.C. 1442A. At least if they follow precedent, it will be. And that will be a good thing because she has already demonstrated that she is completely unfair, completely political, that this is a political device. And that, by the way, she's also pretty darn incompetent. Maybe we should keep her because she'll blow the case. I don't know. But I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. I have great respect for the law. I still do. I just want to see it getting back to one system of justice. If Hillary Clinton doesn't go to jail for smashing up hard drives, you don't indict Donald Trump for moving around papers inside of Mar-a-Lago and not destroying anything. If Joe Biden doesn't get indicted for taking $8.5 million from Ukraine, doesn't even get investigated for it. You don't indict Trump on some kind of a Trump up, racketeering charge? Huh? Or me?
Well, Mayor, we're in soccer time now, but I have one question for you. Maybe, do you think the federal prosecutors are?
I need a little more water.
Do you think the federal prosecutors are upset?
No, here, right here, right here.
with Fanny that she did this in a state, at a state indictment, and they didn't. You think they're upset that she kind of screwed up a couple things that they were trying to do with Trump? Is that why they might take it from her? Do you think?
Well, they
do
don't
that?
get a choice. The judge has to decide. What happens in a removal, I've done them, did it in a very famous case involving major corruption in the Ed Koch administration, because I thought that it would interfere with my witness. Had it removed immediately, and Judge Whitman Knapp signed the petition. The case gets decided by a federal judge. So it's going to get decided now. Mark Meadows has already filed a petition. And he's filed a petition for removal. So his lawyers will now be given a chance to write a brief explaining why it should be removed. Fanny will get a chance to argue the opposite. It'll get, and I assume, and we'll find out, that the rest of us, including President Trump, will be asked if we want to join and either file legal papers, factual papers. The judge may say, please don't overload me with too many. Honestly, I hate to say this, it's a pretty simple decision. The law is pretty clear that this case gets removed. And then the judge signs an order and it just moves to federal court. And the government has nothing to say about it. Federal government has nothing to say about it. Fannie gets to oppose it.
Right. Well, do you think the federal prosecutors are kind of mad at her that she did this, kind of screwing up all the work they supposedly put into indicting Donald Trump?
Well, I know what lawyers are like, and lawyers are all jealous.
Right.
And they all think they're better than the other. And the minute she messed up the indictment, they all laughed at her.
Exactly. That's
I'm
what I
sure
think.
they said, we would have never done that. Now, they probably might have.
might- you
But
never know.
I know
Yeah,
lawyers.
yeah,
The
yeah.
lawyers are like, well, I can't say it. I'll get in trouble.
We actually have a good question on Getter.
Beep, beep, beep,
Mayor.
beep, beep, beep,
Well, the
beep.
federal
They're like
judge-
this.
Well, the
Oh, I would have
federal-
done it better than him. I would have done it better than him.
Well, the federal judge, do you think, would he be fair and just if this RICO indictment gets moved to a federal level? Do you think you?
I think that's the right decision from what I see. Now, there may be some things I haven't thought. I mean, I only looked at this last night, and then about 2 weeks ago when I first saw it and put it away and said, shut up, so that Fanny can walk into it. But from what I can tell from the precedents, I mean, when they use words like it's very broadly construed, it means that they pretty much take in most cases. That they want to err on the side of taking the case into the federal court because you're making decisions about federal actions. That Trump did all these things as a federal officer when he did them. Now, you can say it wasn't proper, but he can say it was, and he has a right to say that. And then a court can decide whether the president of the United States has the obligation to make sure that the election laws are faithfully executed, just like every other law. And he has a perfectly legitimate argument that he was attempting to faithfully execute the election laws. They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he wasn't. He's presumed innocent, not them. So I would think it's going to get removed to a federal court. And I think a federal judge, if he's a good federal judge, or she is going to discipline this case quite a bit. I mean, meaning, how about we cut this stupid thing down to a case that we can try sometime in the next 10 years? I mean, you know what it's like to try a case with 19 defendants? My office tried one. I was the supervisor. Louis Freeh actually was the chief prosecutor, a 27-month mafia trial. It was like doing the 10 Commandments.
Not that the commission trial? No.
No, it was different. It was really a case of as much importance as the commission in that it broke up really the old French connection, Italian connection, Sicilian connection, drug dealing. Also
There's a
helped.
movie.
It also led to the Maxi trial. Helped with the Maxi trial in Italy, 100 people. It's the case that cost the lives of two Italian judges who were killed.
You were
in
the only
Sicily.
one of those three, right? Who or were two of those judges?
No, the Italian judges
assassinated
were
or just
killed. No
one? Okay.
American.
So
No American was
The word on the street is the rumor. I'm sure the mayor can speak to this, that they were going to.
There was a hit on him
There was a
too.
hit on him, but
There were several.
Right.
The Sicilians
Sicily.
decided.
Right.
The Sicilians actually.
Right.
Before that, when I did my first couple of cases, which were relatively small cases against the Sicilian mafia, but American prosecutors hadn't done much against the Sicilian mafia. They decided to come here and kill me.
Mm-hmm.
And they did. And the American mafia talked them out of
They
it.
stopped. That's right. That's right.
And the FBI caught them all.
The American
and-
Cosa Nostra actually said we don't do politics.
That's one of the and that was like
That's crazy, right?
that was like an $800,000 contract. Then Carmine Persico, at the end of my career, because I put him in jail twice for 100 years, he thought it was like piling on when I put him in the second time for 100 years. He put out a contract on me for $400,000, and I was extremely upset because I thought my value went down.
I was gonna say that's.
That's really I put all these guys, but I guess they figured I was finished now, and if they were going to get me, they might as well have got me earlier before I put them all in jail.
But wasn't Carmine?
I wonder if they think it was a mistake. They voted 3-2 not to kill me. I wonder if they think it was a mistake not to kill
Not
me.
to kill you, right? You took down the mafia.
That was before they all went, and the guys who voted for us, some of them I put in jail for 100 years. They're kind of pissed off.
I think
Carmine in particular, he was pissed off. He voted for me.
But wasn't Carmine Persico allegedly an FBI informant too, as well?
I never, I never talk about things like that.
And here's my mayor of
I
course.
go to my grave, with that. And I'm not suggesting he was.
And so of course, Mayor, your long and storied career, you've dealt with stone cold killers, organized crime, the literal mafia. Of course, you the way you handled September the 11th and comforted not just the nation but the entire world, and the things that you saw and witnessed.
All it does is tell you how corrupt we've become. It tells you how sad, how political, how craven,
Jealous. Makes me sick.
yeah, and how power has corrupted us. Money has corrupted. A lot of it is money. A lot of it is China. A lot of it is fear that if this comes out, a lot more will come out. And a lot is resentment of me for having brought it out. Look, the press doesn't want to give me credit for it, but unfortunately they do. They fear me. Aside from Trump, they fear me the most. When Biden first got in the race, he wrote a letter to all the stations and told them I shouldn't be on television, which I took as a great compliment. It was because of my effectiveness on television. He wouldn't have done that if I got on television and I was a big jerk making problems for Trump. He did it because I helped to turn around the perception that Trump was guilty of Russian collusion. I also helped to turn around the perception of Mueller, who was seen as a god and exited as a.
Well, of course, Mayor, you've been proven right time and time again.
Even with him.
Why?
With him.
That's right. And that's why millions of Americans stand by
I'm just
you.
getting annoyed by the fact that you get no credit for that. You go through it, you go through it, you go through it. You get proven right. They get proven to be liars. Then you start all over again. And they're the ones who are presumed to be right. And the press writes things like you lied when you didn't. I'm getting tired of it, but I realize that I am very fortunate that my life has great meaning to be involved in this. It really does. I told that to my friends today who were concerned about me and to my children, both of whom were very concerned and called me early this morning. And I said, you're very, very fortunate if you can live during important times and have an important role to play. I don't have the biggest role to play. Donald Trump has the biggest role to play. No, I'm sorry. You have the biggest role to play. You. American people have the biggest role to play. You're the only ones who can get us out of this. If you want your country back, if you want a country back in which we don't say we have a two-tier system of justice, because please, 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 a little bit of logic, a two-tier system of justice is no justice at all. That's another one of the Democrat euphemisms that they take from 1984, because unfortunately, whether they know it or not, some of them do, some of them, they're acting like, and they are effectively communists. Well, we covered a lot tonight. Is there anything that I needed to tell you? I don't think so. I think we got everything in that we had to. We did. And we'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow night. And all those people who want to know what Rudy Giuliani has to say about this can tune in, including all my enemies who want to now write ridiculous things about me. I would like you to know I don't read it. Ha. Huh? Like, people have written biographies of me that are, really bad, terrible. I've never read them.
Look, Mayor, of course, as you said, they can
I don't
catch
pay
you.
attention to stuff like that. You know what I pay attention to? My conscience. That's what I pay attention to. I look in the mirror a lot, and I pray a lot, and I talk to Jesus. And unlike Adams, he doesn't talk back to me, but I do talk to him.
Well,
which is prayer.
He might look in the mirror a lot, though.
And don't get all wacky here. When I say I talk to Jesus, I pray. That's prayer.
Extremist.
But he has never talked back to me. He's guided me in a much more indirect way, but unlike Mayor Adams, I've not had the occasion where God has actually had direct conversations with me.
Well,
and I am a happy man.
You're the consummate happy warrior, as
I have two children that are healthy and wonderful and smart. I have a wonderful granddaughter. I have a daughter-in-law who's like a daughter. My partner, Dr. Maria, is my best friend. And I have all these wonderful people right here, my good friends.
That's right, Mayor. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah. See that? We got about 10 like that.
Give maybe 10. We got at least a dozen in there. Come on. So,
and we're going to prevail because we have the truth on our side. The president knows that. The president knows that. That's why I have a lasting bond with him. And there's stuff about, somebody's going to cooperate against him, and nobody's going to cooperate against him. Because nothing, of course they'll cooperate. They'll cooperate and tell you the truth. They didn't do anything wrong. I'll cooperate. I have. I testified where I could, where there wasn't privilege. They didn't agree with me, but I did. I told them the truth. I'm sorry. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't commit a crime. I know crime's better than you. Much better. I even know how to get indictments. Thank you. Well, tomorrow, WABCRadio.com at 3, or as we say in Brooklyn, at 3. Okay? Okay. Or as we say in Manhattan, at 30 and 3rd. Okay? At 3. And then at 8.
The best show at 8 o'clock.
Okay? The fastest hour.
The fastest hour on the internet.
That's it, man. The fastest hour and 23 minutes.
Going faster and faster.
Fastest hour and 23 minutes.
There we go.
Okay.
The chat has been going
Yeah,
fast.
nonstop.
God bless. Our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given